Laoshan. Rising from the Shandong coastline, this mountain range has long been a place of myth, Taoist practice, and martial legend. Today, Alex and I have come here not only to enjoy its breathtaking scenery, but to search for something more elusive: the origins of Praying Mantis Kung Fu. Almost every version of the story begins with one name, Wang Lang. But who was he? Some tales describe him as a wandering martial artist who, while in Laoshan, observed a praying mantis defeat a cicada, inspiring him to create a new martial art. So whether or not Wang Lang was really had anything to do with these mountains, and that's really up for debate, but as far as mantis mythology goes, yeah, most stories and versions of the story claim that he was living in these mountains and that this was where he saw a mantis catching a cicada. And even Wang Hanfeng, even as far down as in Hong Kong, he's writing about Laoshan multiple times, right?
Yes, multiple mentions, and we've kind of talked about how there's kernels of truth in the myth. I mean, this is obviously a hot spot for mantis, and you can imagine people wandering around like Xingjia Dao Ren, as kind of these people on the margins of society, or Li Sanjian doing the dangerous bodyguard stuff out here in the middle of nowhere because you got robbed. No local modern police force. So, I mean, it's definitely the area where mantis is associated, and kind of the environment where you'd expect a folk fighting style to spring up, right?
Yeah. Most of these stories place him in the late Ming or early Qing dynasties, so around the 16th to 18th centuries. But there are also theories that Wang Lang was not a mythical hero at all, but perhaps based on a real historical figure. One suggestion is General Yu Qi, a Ming loyalist who led a rebellion against the newly formed Qing court. Now, while Laoshan is mostly known for its Taoism, for being the seat of the complete reality school of Taoism, there is this very important Buddhist temple here, Huayan Temple. It's this temple where the statue of Wang Lang and the tomb of the Yu Qi, who some people claim is Wang Lang, is located. And the reason there is a Buddhist temple here is because of this man here, Fa Xian. So he was one of the very first Buddhist monks who went to India and brought back knowledge of Buddhism from India back here to China. And it was pretty much somewhere around here at Laoshan where he landed on a boat back in China with all of the Buddhist texts and helped to establish Buddhism here. And that was in something like around the 4th century AD. This whole front entrance area is all completely new. They never had any of this when I came here maybe 15 years ago. It was like a lot more low-key. You just kind of went straight up to the entrance to the temple. You didn't have this great grand entrance. And I noticed coming in as well that what used to just be quite a small little farming and fishing village is now full of little guest houses, boutique restaurants, little shops selling local souvenirs and things. So initially I looked at it and I'm like, damn, this place has become really touristy. But you know what? Then I sort of thought about it a second time and I was like, I remember those villages were very poor when I came here before. And now, it's not as sort of authentic an experience. It's not that so much an off the beaten track, getting out into deep China kind of thing, but these people definitely, their lives are better off for it.
If their lives can be better, then cheers. I mean, like I said, it's like what your friend John was saying about the area around Shaolin. That's like one of the only draws for that area for people's lives to be better, to make some more money. And yeah. I say if it benefits them, then why not build a parking lot? Don't build it on a historic site, heaven forbid, but build it next to so more people can come see the culture. I mean, why not, right?
So this was the original entrance that I remember from 15 years ago. I mean, the entrance isn't hundreds of years old, but it's a lot older than the big fancy car park and ticket centre they've got at the front now. I think it is a bit of a nicer, more, tasteful entrance.
So, Laoshan kind of refers to, it's more referring to like this general area or mountain range, not necessarily one particular peak, right?
Exactly. The word shan in Chinese,
Oh.
hello cat, the mountain cat. Yeah, shan can refer to both a single mountain or a range of mountains. So Chinese language is often a lot more, it's not quite as precise. It can tend to be a bit more abstract, and a lot of it's context driven. So it's one of the things that comes up, you know, the difficulty when trying to translate things, particularly in martial arts. Let's go take a look at this view of the ocean. Dude. From the mountains.
Dongshan, Bu, mountain climbing stance, Mount Tai crashes down on someone's head. I mean, yeah. A lot of mountain imagery in Mantis.
It is, because there's a lot of mountains in China.
So you would just know.
Okay.
And there's the, this is one of the few mountains in China where the mountain actually meets the sea, as you can see. As you can see the sea. This stele here says that this is a record of the founder of Mantis, General Yu Qi. Here we go.
Look at this, guys. Wang
The
Lang.
great General Yu Qi, the man who, according to some versions of the origin story of Mantis, is Wang Lang. According to one variation of the Wang Lang story, Wang Lang was actually General Yu Qi, and he was a general who tried to start a rebellion to overthrow the Qing dynasty, and after he failed, he came to Huayan Temple, became a monk and went into hiding, and he splashed boiling oil on his face to disguise his identity. And then they say that it was here as a monk that he witnessed a mantis catching a cicada right here in these mountains, and was inspired to start this new martial art. Now, there are those who say that this is an unlikely story, and there are those who deny this, but this is one of the possible explanations for who Wang Lang may be.
Yes, and it's in the heart of a beautiful place. We got the mountains, the seas. I'm happy with it.
Other versions have nothing to do with Laoshan at all. They place Wang Lang as early as the Song dynasty, around the 12th century, and refer to a gathering of 18 martial artists at the Shaolin Temple, where the abbot Fuju organised an event for them to compile their various techniques.
Hey guys, I want to interrupt this video briefly just to recommend a product to you. If you're thinking about coming out here to China to train martial arts or just to travel or whatever, but you're concerned about accessing your foreign apps on your phone, YouTube, Facebook, everything like that, a lot of people nowadays are recommending VPNs, but I'll be completely honest with you, speaking from experience, a lot of the VPNs are not working reliably here in China anymore. And so I'm going to offer you an alternative solution, and that is an eSIM by Arello. So Arello offers a range of eSIMs for different countries and regions all around the world, not just for here in China, but if you are traveling and you're in need of an eSIM, it's honestly a lot better, more efficient than, landing in the airport, trying to find a store where you can buy a local SIM card, worrying if the store's even going to be open, if you're arriving, early in the morning or late at night, worrying they're going to give you the best deal. You can have that all ready to go as soon as you land. And if you are here in China specifically, their China eSIM accesses a Hong Kong data network, meaning that you can get onto fully unrestricted internet without the need of a VPN. As you can see from the skyline, I am right here in Shanghai. I'm not using a VPN. I'm accessing YouTube, I'm accessing Instagram, I'm accessing Facebook, all of which without using a VPN, just from Arello's China eSIM. Now, if you sign up using the link below, you can get 15% off your first purchase or 10% off if you're a returning customer. It's really a great opportunity and I can't recommend this app enough. What do you fancy to drink?
Let's do it. Maybe grab a Coke.
A Coca-Cola or a Laoshan cola.
Whoa. The spirit of Laoshan mountains.
7 yuan, dude. It's double the price of the city, but we shall absorb the
It's worth it.
the chi of the mountains. So, compared to your all-American Coca-Cola, what do you think of this
Well,
communist Chinese sacred Taoist mountain Laoshan cola?
Laoshan cola.
How is it?
As in every commercial, I gotta do the sip and then looking at it like, hey, I'm drinking this. Kind of nodding. It's interesting. It's like, to me, if I describe it to someone, it's like a halfway between Coke and Pepsi. You know, like that kind of midway point there.
I'm not sure if it's artificial sweeteners or just like 3-4 times the amount of sugar as well. It's incredibly sweet.
Yeah, that's why I say like familiar like Coke, but then I think Pepsi is sweeter than Coke, so a little bit of sweetness reminds me of Pepsi.
You know what I think it tastes like actually? Have you had those like sour cola? We call them like penny cola bottles in the UK. Little kids eat and they go to the penny sweet store.
While you're playing Wee Willie Knuckle-Winks down in the Shire.
Oh, let's go to the penny store in the Shire.
Can
for
I
some-
have a go, Daddy?
Oh man, I love you guys with your crazy British stereotypes. It's just hilariously ridiculous.
Hey.
We're all either posh Cockney or from Manchester.
Right, of course.
It's like only three.
Hello, Governor. There's no in between. There's no room for nuance here. I'm an American.
Another figure tied to Mantis history is Sheng Shao Daoren, or the Heavenly Ascended Taoist. He's credited with compiling the very first Chuanpu, or boxing manual of Mantis, sometimes called Luohan Xinggong Duanda, meaning moving short strikes of the Luohan, sometimes called Shaolin Yibo Zhenchuan, meaning the robe and bowl transmission of Shaolin, a reference to being the true transmission of the temple. In this manual, he lays out the various foundational concepts of Mantis boxing, the underlying fighting principles such as the 8 hard and 12 soft methods, the 7 long and 8 short methods, and some principles of strategy and movement. He also describes and illustrates various fighting techniques. The manual also contains a set of internal exercises called 18 Luohan Gong, which makes it the oldest part of the Mantis system to still be practiced. Yet who he was, we do not know. No biography, no lineage, no temple records, just a name. Was he a Taoist hermit here in Laoshan, codifying a tradition already in circulation? Was he the actual creator of Mantis? Was he Wang Lang himself? Or was he just a literary construct, a name attached to a set of ideas of unknown origin?
So this is kind of, I guess, quite reflective of old society, the old sort of Qing dynasty society, in that these sorts of, mountain temples would be a place where people escaping their past, whether it's they're leaving some sort of trauma, family trauma behind, or whether they're criminals on the run and, failed rebellion leaders.
War PTSD.
Yeah, whatever it is, like, these are sort of retreats,
Yes.
for want of a better word. They're retreats, and it's a place where people would come and escape society and just live up here, cultivate the Tao, you know,
Yes.
perhaps training martial arts, various sort of, you know, qigong, longevity, health practices. I mean, nowadays there are still Taoist priests living here, but it is open for tourists, so I don't think it's quite the secluded place it once was, but
Yes.
you can still feel the vibe.
Yeah, definitely. And you can imagine an individual finding solace here, getting to start over, if you will say. But then also, if people were on the run, you could blend in with 100 other monks and just be shuffling around, disappearing. And in fact, one of the Mantis masters we were interviewing the other day said things like, you know, you weren't supposed to ask about your teacher's name or their teacher's background. And there were definitely people who were trying to escape from persecution or their past or what have you. So, you know, those archetypes and those stories show up all over history. It's not without precedent, the story of Wang Lang.
I think, you know, one of the big things as well that we forget now is that we live in such an information-saturated society that, you know, we can just look up the bio of you know, the guy that's opened the Kung Fu school down the road, and we can try and see where he's learned from and who he was. And back then you couldn't. And like, you know, like you say, you know, like Zhong Lianbao said to us, or was it Lin Zhongzhu said to us, you couldn't ask.
Yeah.
You know, in that society, you couldn't ask, you know, who your teacher was, where did he learn it from, unless he wanted to tell you.
Exactly, and that's what we have to remember about the old lists and the Chuan Fu or wherever we find them. It's like some people may have wanted to go by another name anonymously, or some people may not have wanted to be found or discovered. And you know, tying back into Wang Lang, like I said, someone had to have invented it, but it's kind of a common theme you found in martial arts around the world, whereas like the Greeks say Heracles invented boxing, or Japanese sword school will say that the Tengu came down, the demons came down and taught, you know, this sword art. So it's almost kind of like this common theme of just people hidden in the history, but then also too maybe people appealing to some mythical founder.
Yeah. So it's kind of like if you don't know who your teacher was because of this culture, it's very easy to say, oh, he was this nameless bandit, or he was this nameless monk or priest, Taoist priest or something. You can see kind of how, you know, with Chinese whispers, in 1 or 2 generations, that story turns into something almost magical.
Right, the telephone game, as we call it in the States, where something gets repeated, and with each repetition, something is added, something is lost to the story.
Let's check that out there. This red calligraphy here, Dao Fa Ziran, is a quote from the Tao Te Ching. It's the last line of a part where it says, like, Ren Fa Di, people follow the earth. Di Fa Tian, the earth follows heaven. Tian Fa Dao, the heaven follows the Tao. Dao Fa Ziran, the Tao follows the natural way. So it's almost like a whole cycle of, you know, the interrelationship between like the minuscule and the ultimate. This would have been one of those caves where some hermit may have lived and cultivated immortality thousands of years ago. I'm assuming he would have been the person who, you know, cultivated himself in this cave. Moving into history proper, the first verifiable name we have for 7-star mantis is Li Zhejian, whom we discussed in the last video. However, where he actually got his mantis from is completely unknown. Could he have inherited a tradition already present in the area, which came from these earlier mythical figures? There is still a gap of a couple of 100 years between Shengshao Daoren's text and the life of Li Zhejian. Another text attributed to Wang Yunsheng himself says that he learnt mantis hands, Jia Yao and Bazhou from Li, and then 10 other forms from a fellow student, Hao Shunchang, and that he also received a copy of the Shaolin Authentics manual. This would lead us to suggest that the forms we practice today were already around in the 19th century, and that Shengshao Daoren's writings were in circulation in the area too. However, there is still nothing that really connects the two. As we left the mountains and drove back to the city, I couldn't help but think,
Perhaps the origins of Praying Mantis Kung Fu are meant to remain a mystery. Part history, part legend, part inspiration. Whether born from a general, a Taoist sage, or a wandering warrior who saw a mantis catching a cicada, what matters is that the art continues to live, breathe, and evolve. Maybe what's more important than who these mythical figures were is the meaning behind the stories that early mantis masters told their students. These stories are a reflection of what they valued, what worldview they held, and perhaps to inspire their students.
Well, we are back in Qingdao, back in the big city, wrapping up an absolutely epic trip. Alex here started in Hong Kong, looking at his own Wang Han lineage. We then met up in Shanghai, where the journey of the two of us began, looking at the Jingwu Athletic Association, the legacy of Luo Guangyu. We came up to Shandong. We had a pretty crazy adventure in Penglai, which I shall be saving for you Patreon guys as a little extra. And then Yantai, Qingdao, Laoshan, going all back in time right to the beginning.
Yeah.
How was it for you? First time?
Dude, it was
China.
wild. It was wild. So many cities, so many locations kind of all up the coast, so many glimpses of different kinds of mantis. Mantis in Hong Kong, mantis in Jingwu, all the way up to, like we said, the cradle where it started, where they've just been camping out. Like no one's left. They've just been doing their thing. And, on a non-martial arts note, it was cool to see the architecture, the food, the way people were. But martial arts wise, it was very reassuring for me. So it was cool to recognize the moves and be like, okay, I know what's going on. But then to get additional nuggets of information that I'm going to incorporate into my own practice, like, the way to move your hands, or something you should be doing with your stepping, something you should be doing with your body. That was cool to have something to take home. And everyone was super friendly. Multiple mantis teachers invited me back to study with them. And I don't think that's anything on me, that I'm anything special. It's just there was very much a welcoming nature and very much this excitement. I think some of these guys have just been working on this thing for decades, and then to have someone from across the world come and say, hey, show me this thing you've been working on, like show me this thing that you've been polishing. I think they're going to get excited to kind of roll out the red carpet and be like, yeah, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. So it was wild. It was wild to see just all of it come together. And another thing I was telling Will was that, my mantis is usually inside my own head, or I'm typing or writing, or I'm just practicing with other people. But then to come here and for them to have a statue of a mantis master, or a slab of stone with the characters carved on it commemorating the founder of Mantis, or a school where it is, to have these kind of visible monuments outside your own mind, it was great. It's like, okay, we're seeing something tangible, something real. So